This is the MBA Wire, episode 35. If they made a movie of your life, which actor would you want to play you? Morgan Freeman. Let's do this. Are you preparing for an MBA and want to meet up with top international schools? Well, the Qsr Nba Tour Event will be the perfect opportunity to do this. It's actually going to happen in 4 Brazilian cities now in September. It will be in São Paulo on the 12th, in Rio de Janeiro on the 15th, in Belo Horizonte on the 17th, and in Curitiba on the 19th. There, you will be able to talk to admissions directors from schools like Vanderbilt from the US, McGill from Canada, Imperial College from the UK, IE from Spain, and many, many others. The event is free, so go register right now on their website. It's www.topmba.com/events. Don't miss out.
Inspirational MBA talk with successful alumni to motivate you during your application run. We go behind the scenes of every story, talk business, and show you why it's worthwhile to never give up on your MBA dream. And now, here's your host with the most, Mateo Chang.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the MBA Wire? Welcome back to a fantastic episode. I'm very excited that we are back on track and underway. I am honored to have with us Farai. Thank you so much for helping us out with this initiative. And please, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be doing this, and I hope I can be helpful in any kind of way. So if we start off with my background, I was born in Zimbabwe. I spent 18 years of my life there. And then when I was 19, moved overseas to the United States. Studied finance at a historically black college or university in Orangeburg, South Carolina.
Wow, South Carolina.
Yes, quite an interesting place to be. And it was a good 4 years. I did a couple of internships in between. I think my first one was at Enterprise Rent-A-Car as a management trainee. Second one was with Oracle as a strategy operations intern. And then I did a corporate finance rotational program with AIG. After that, I spent about a year and a half managing a hip hop group, and then moved back to Johannesburg, where I worked for McKinsey for 2 years, a mining company for 3 years with an ex-McKinsey alum, and now I'm pursuing my MBA. Yeah.
Wow, so dynamic, how do you say, a versatile background. Yeah. Where did you grow up?
Quite an eclectic background. I grew up in Bulawayo in Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spent some time in the capital city of Zimbabwe, Harare, where I was attended boarding school there. Yeah.
Okay, and then you moved to the United States. Where did you stay?
Stayed initially. Actually, I stayed on campus in Orangeburg, South Carolina. So it was, it was a full. I actually got a full scholarship to attend the school. So that was, I guess, one of the main reasons why I attended that school as well. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, I was in I actually have a friend who lives in North Carolina. I spent some time there, and we would go down to South Carolina to visit. But isn't it a little bit complicated there? I mean, because it's here's the thing. I've seen people. I've actually seen people wearing like the Confederate flag, like on their clothing, or So how is that? I mean, that racial divide. Was that a complicated, like a difficult thing for you to overcome there?
So yes and no. I think I was shielded from that kind of racial divide, and the reason being my school was 99% black either way, or 99% African American.
Wow.
As so I purposely chose a school where it was they call it a historically black college or university, and so I think it was something that I had always wanted to do. I wanted to understand the culture. And so I really immersed myself in the African American culture. I thought it was a really great time. And luckily, because of that homogeneity of the student body, we really didn't experience much. But obviously, when we went out to places, there were a couple of issues. And one of my one of my friends, she came from a school in Georgia, which is close to South Carolina, where they had a black prom and a white prom. So it was very tricky and quite shocking, to be honest, for an American city in the 2000s.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it
Yeah.
is and it's still going on. I mean, it's still a sensitive case that's still dividing up the South there on the East Coast in the United States. So sensitive issue.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very sensitive issue. I think there's a lot of work to be done there. And I think it's just, it's a very much everyone lives a very separate life. So there isn't necessarily a great deal of interaction between races. If you go to New York, if you go to London, you're pretty much in the same personal spaces all the time with multiple cultures. So I guess you get kind of accustomed to it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you managed the hip hop group, huh? Are they famous now?
So they were quite famous in their time. And when I say famous, not nationwide, but it was South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Atlanta, well, Georgia, the state. And it went a little bit west to Alabama as well. So, I mean, it was quite big in about 5 to 6 states. Yeah.
Wow, that's nice. Hip hop is great. I actually grew up on hip hop music over in California, so I'm very I love that type of genre.
I remember when I was about 14, I wanted to be a rapper. One of my idols at the time was Puff Daddy or P Diddy. And so it was always a dream of mine.
Well, why didn't you pursue that career?
So I mean, there were two issues. There was a very real issue of just the work permit itself. Getting a work permit was quite tough in the States. And this was in the 2008/2009 period, so it was extremely tough to get a work permit. And then just secondly, I think I looked at the maximum I could earn in the field, and I figured it would be in the hundreds of millions, maybe. And then I looked at the maximum of a corporate job, of starting my own company and or whatever company it is. And I think the potential is much larger outside of hip hop. Not to say a lot of people will be comfortable with that. But I guess I'm extremely ambitious, and I said, listen, I'm going to go for something that has the largest potential.
Wow, that's nice. That's awesome. Good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, so now you're doing an MBA at London Business School, yes?
Correct. Yes.
So how did you come about choosing your school? Why did you choose specifically London Business School?
Oh, so it was quite a journey for me. I initially started. I said, what are the? So it was, first of all, what are the top schools, right?
Right.
Looked at the top schools, and then I really, dug within myself, and I thought, okay, what do I want to get out of my MBA? And I think one of the key things for me was to get away from the States. I spent 5 years there, and secondly, to have a very international network of colleagues. So I think that was key for me, and so it was very easy to whittle it down to a couple of schools, and then I thought about, okay, what's my post-career ambitions, and I want to get into finance. So I think London Business School was a perfect fit for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So how long have you been in London now?
I've been here for 9 days, I think.
9 days?
Yeah.
How are you liking it?
I love it. I think London's a very cosmopolitan city. It's very vibey. There's lots of different areas, different characters about each small area in London. And when you put it all together, it just makes for this like really awesome city. I think the people have been great. Luckily, I came during the end of summer, so I really haven't experienced any cold. So the weather's been quite fantastic, to be honest. I would compare it to Africa at the moment. Let's just see how it is in the next month or two. But yeah.
Oh, very nice. So, what kind of cool things have you done in London in these last 9 days?
Cool things. Not a lot. I mean, we had a nice school event close to the Thames River. I thought that was really nice. We had a couple of cocktails outside on the terrace, and that was really awesome. I've been to an area called Shoreditch in London, which is absolutely crazy as far as just the energy about it. I think it feels like there's a festival or something going on there, but supposedly this is just how it is all the time, you know. So I think that's been awesome, and I'm looking to explore. I really want to see the rest of the United Kingdoms, visit the countryside a little bit. So I think there's a whole lot more to see.
Yeah, and at London Business School, you mentioned that you guys are in the middle of orientation week.
Yes.
Well, what's that like? Can you describe what an orientation week is for our listeners?
So orientation is really just getting you into to understand what the school is about, to understand what's expected of you, just to know your way around, know what the career center does, know what just how to deal with the diversity of the students. So that's one aspect is what the school gives you, and then secondly, it's you getting to know your classmates. I think there's like 418 of us. Everyone's like really nice and hyper social. So you're really going out there meeting 30, 40, 50 people a day, hoping some of the names stick. you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just getting to know your classmate and just getting a feel for what to expect over the next year and a half, 2 years.
So have you made any like friends that you're closer to now, or is it just still more of a general kind of getting to know the 400, the 400
So
plus
there's,
students?
there's there's a bit of both. I mean, I've purposely tried not to stick with the same people immediately, but at the same time, you naturally gel with a couple of people. So I mean, I've got a couple of friends where I'm like, okay, these guys could definitely be long-term friends, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm giving myself the opportunity to get to know everybody.
Yeah. It's. I mean, it's one thing to really network, and then it's another thing to like settle down with like just a few your own
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a trade-off. It's you have to think about, do you want depth or breadth? And some people value depth of relationship. My personal, like, it's just my personality to have a wide network and not necessarily extremely deep. And so I'm trying to play, as I get to know myself, I'm trying to play to my strengths, and that's having that wide network. And so that's really what this first week has been about.
Nice. At London Business School, I mean, have you decided to join any clubs already, or I mean, are you still kind of shopping around?
So for orientation, I mean, they've given us a couple of names of clubs, but it's up to you to explore. The one club I'm definitely going to be a part of is the Africa Club. I mean, it just makes sense, obviously. And we've had discussions. I've had discussions with people going to study their MBAs at different schools from Africa, and we've got a couple of initiatives that we think would be great. So I'd love to suggest it to the club and see how that goes. Obviously, they've got their own things going on. So that's the one club. Then I'm just thinking rugby. Maybe I haven't played rugby before, but it would be great to get involved. Probably finance as well, because my post-career ambitions are finance. So those are the kinds of clubs I'm thinking about at the moment. But let's just see how it goes over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. So you're a rugby player, huh?
Well, I used to play soccer, but I think I should spread my wings and try something new.
Nice. Have you heard of the MBA tournament, the MBAT, with the schools in Europe, with HEC pairs? So are you planning on participating or competing there?
Definitely. London Business School has actually won the previous two tournaments. So clearly I think we've got a little bit of athletic talent somewhere. I don't know how they spot it. One of my good friends that I've actually met in the past week or so, he played for the Lebanese national rugby team for, 2 international matches. So we might actually have a chance over there. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. That was one of the events that they really spoke about. It's a good opportunity to meet everybody else. I'll definitely be there.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it really sounds like it's actually. I've spoken to people who've organized the MBAT and also people who've participated in the MBAT. They just said it's just like amazing. I mean, you get these days, these events are just full of people. Great friendly competition and
Yeah. Exactly. I think it's going to be, at least from what I've heard, it's going to be a really good time. Get serious about the sport, but at the same time, really socialize as well.
True. What are you really excited about as far as your MBA here at London Business School?
I don't know. I think I'm excited about everything. I'm like, so there's this African character called Temba that there's a couple of stories about, and it's called Temba Comes to Town. So he comes from the rural areas and comes to a big city and is just amazed by everything. Mm-hmm. So I kind of feel like Temba right now at the school, and I'm just really excited about everything. We've got a class coming up. I'm really excited about that. So I think, but there are a couple of things that I want to get out of it, and that's just I guess improving my leadership skills. Obviously they pick you because they think you've got leadership potential already, but it's just working on that, and looking forward to making some really good friends, some lifetime friends. And what else am I excited about? Excited about getting into this new career. I mean, the whole purpose of the MBA for me was to develop my skills and to facilitate this transition in my career. So I'm really excited about that.
Nice. Well, I wish you the best success throughout your MBA experience.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's rewind a little bit here. Let's go back to the time when you were applying for your MBA. Tell me about that time and tell me what were the main challenges for you?
So, I mean, we spoke about the one challenge, and that was just picking the right school. I think that was really stressful for me because you're going to make the significant time investment into the application and into 2 years of your life or a year of your life. So it's really stressful just thinking about, okay, look, am I making the right decision? Am I focusing my attention on the right school? Because there's some schools that you're not going to give attention, and there's some that you are. So it's just making sure that you know exactly what you want way before you start the application. So I mean, I think that was really important. That stressed me out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then there was just the actual process of application. Like, how do you put the best you in 350 words?
That's always a hard one.
That's a hard one. I mean, it's not even 350. It's probably 350 times maybe 3 essays or something. So you got 1,000 words to put your whole life, to condense your whole 28, 27, 29, whatever years on this earth onto the paper to look like the best candidate. So that can be quite stressful.
Yeah, it takes a lot of self-reflection, I think, and it takes time to really, really elaborate and choose the key points that you want to transmit.
Exactly. So I think I spent probably 2 to 3 weeks before I even touched the paper, probably a month actually, before I even touched anything. Uh-huh. And I was just thinking, okay, so what is my story going to be? And I started thinking, I had to dig really deep and say, oh, what did I do when I was 5? What did I do when I was 6? Oh, what does that mean? So it actually helped me understand myself more. and understand why I do some of the things I do and why I'm here, because I really had to dig really deep. I think it was the first time when I really thought about, okay, what is my life story? What have I actually done?
What was the most surprising thing that you discovered about yourself?
About myself? Let me think. I think I realized that I actually have a plan in life and that it seems like it's unfolding. So that was surprising to me because I really thought back to what I wanted to do when I was 15, right?
Yeah.
And you know, there was definitely a plan for finance. And I said, listen, by 30, 31, I want to be in banking. I want to do X, Y, Z. And so I hadn't set a plan for my 20s when I was young, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was because I purposely wanted to explore and just get to know myself and understand myself. And so these weren't things that I thought about at the time, but in the back of my head, I kind of knew, okay, no, 20s and 30s is when you get serious, X, Y, Z, or all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And when I say serious, I mean, it's like 30s is when you choose your final lifetime career kind of thing, you know? And so I think what surprised me is that as much as, you know, my background's very eclectic and it's just all over the place, there's actually a solid reasoning behind it. And I really had to dig deep to actually understand all of the moves I'd made. And I think, you know, made me confident as well that, you know, that I'm going to achieve everything that I want to achieve. Because that's always a concern. You know, you're like, okay, so I'm in this job. Yeah, I think I'm doing pretty well. And yeah, okay. But is this really what I want to do? And when I think about it, it actually surprised me that, you know, for the most part, all of that concern was not really a concern, that it was something that had been preconceived. It's, you know, your life at that moment is a sum of all of the actions and thoughts that you had. And surprisingly, it really made a lot of sense to me. So I felt much more confident. And I came to this application like, this is who I am. And you know, I was very unapologetic about who I was, and it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. You know, a lot of my students, a lot of the people that I've spoken with or people that I've helped have mentioned that, you know, some of their biggest difficulties are usually the GMAT and finances. How did those two play in any? I mean, were those two things any difficult? Did they present any challenges to you, or were they just, you know, was that not an issue?
They did, but I wasn't. Okay, so I mean, obviously, I prepared really hard for the GMAT. I mean, I spent probably 2 months or so preparing, but I had previously been studying for the CFA. I mean, I just completed my CFA level 3 this year. So I'd been studying quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
So when it came to GMAT, I was like, okay, I mean, I've just been doing CFA. I've just been studying for CFA level 2. Well, this was last year. I'm like, it shouldn't be too bad, you know? So I think that's what didn't concern me as much. But obviously, there was a lot of work that went into it, and I was just, I was satisfied with the outcome. So that didn't scare me too much. I think finances were a little bit of a concern, but I spoke to a lot of people that had gone to top schools, and all of them said, listen, if you get in, don't worry about the finances. And I think that's something that stuck with me. As I said, okay, look, I'm not going to worry about the finances, because basically every single person I spoke to said, listen, if it's a top school and you get in, they're going to make a plan for you. There's going to be loans available. Whatever it is will be available. So I think that helped calm me down a bit.
Nice. Well, I mean, so you ended up getting like a personal loan from the school.
Yes, I mean, I think it was a mixture of two sources of funding. The first being a scholarship, and then the second being a loan from Prodigy Finance.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. How was that experience for you to getting the loan from Prodigy?
Prodigy was absolutely fantastic. I think it's a very nice interface for the loan application. They do it very quickly, very efficient. So I think it was really a great experience.
Nice, nice. So okay, so financing through, financing is good. GMAT was good. No other
Yeah.
difficulties then throughout your application
Um,
process.
yeah, I mean, obviously you have the really tough, questions and the interviews to go through. I think that's quite nerve-wracking. I know I had a couple of sleepless nights before my interview. Uh,
Well, how did those interviews? I mean, how did you prepare for those interviews?
I mean, I was lucky enough to know two alum, two alumni, I think. Two alumni.
Hmm.
So I reached out to them and basically asked them, to give me some interview prep. So, I mean, we had a 1.5 hour Skype call, just going back and forth and making sure that, I had a good story and I was fully prepared. So yeah.
As far as getting through your difficulties, I think you've gotten that. Once you received the acceptance letter or email, how did you feel? I mean, what was that like?
I was quite ecstatic. I think it felt a little surreal for me. When you've spent 5 years working and, you think, and this is your daily routine, and then you start to think about what this actually means. Like, this really means that I'm moving countries. I'm going to settle somewhere else for quite an extended period of time. It was great and kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, what came afterwards? I mean, like, having to move and getting all the preparations.
Yes, I mean that was. I basically barely told anyone until I got my visa, because I was, nervous about that. You always want to make sure that everything's in check before you announce
Announce
to the
it.
world that you're, you know. So that was at least one milestone that went. It was also quite a hectic application process as well. I had to, for example, if you're coming to the UK from South Africa, you have to get a tuberculosis certificate. So I tried to get it from one of the closest cities, and that was fully booked for the next 3 weeks. So I literally just went to a different city on the coast, Durban, which is like 6 hours away, just to get this tuberculosis certificate.
Wow.
So those are the kinds of things I did. And I mean, I just, my boss was very supportive along the way. So I just let him know, hey, listen, I need to go tomorrow. They've got a space available for me. So I need to go 6 hours away just to get this tuberculosis medical certificate. So, I mean, along the way, there was a whole bunch of, a whole bunch of admin things that I had to do. And luckily, I had an understanding job. So I may have taken a 2 hour lunch instead of a 1 hour lunch. So I try to schedule a lot of stuff around lunchtime and 5 o'clock just to get everything I needed organized.
What are you planning on doing after your MBA? What are your goals afterwards?
So I'd like to get into finance. So I've got two alternative routes, but they're all related to mining and metals. The first being investment banking, focusing on mining and metals, based London or South Africa, really. I think those are both two good places to be. And the second being, so I've got a realistic target and I've got a stretch target being physical commodity trading, which doesn't necessarily value an MBA as much. They value experience and, working down at the port and doing invoicing and, really getting to understand the business a little more. So I think that one's a little tough to get into post my MBA, but it's just something that I'm keeping on the radar.
Oh, sweet, sweet. Well, you are starting your classes. What is it, this Friday now?
Yes.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoy your classes. I hope you have some great experiences there. I usually close up and
So much.
yeah, I usually close up an interview with the final question, which is,
Yes.
what is your final piece of advice to our listeners?
I think I would say understand yourself before you start. well, not before, but as you start your application, start thinking about what really makes you tick and what you really want to do for the next 20 to 30 years of your life. First of all. Second of all, start to think about, what kind of experience you're looking for. And that, I think, helps to boil it down to what you think your schools are going to be. And then after that, it's just being confident that, you are a great candidate, that, you've got something to offer, and just making sure you can express that very well in your essays, that you're someone that should be part of this class that you want to be part of. So I think it's really just being introspective and making sure that you're conveying your best qualities to the admissions committee.
Okay. Wow. Great insights, great advice. Farai, I want to thank you once again very much for the time that you've given us here with some insights into your story.
Yeah.
If our students want to hit you up or send you an email or something, do you have any way for them to contact you?
Yeah, sure. I think you can reach out to my personal email, mrfarai@gmail.com. So it's mrfarai@gmail.com. I'm very willing and able. I really enjoy helping people. I was given the same kind of assistance before, so I really wouldn't mind passing it on.
All right, Farai, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks so much.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen of the MBA Wire. Yet another great episode here. This is Mateo Chang signing off. Catch you guys next time.
Thanks for tuning into the MBA Wire. Would you like to know more? Visit us online at thembawire.com today and leave your questions and feedback. While you're there, sign up for an exclusive free audio series to help you strengthen your MBA interview. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the MBA Wire.